Hello ladies and gents, and welcome to Games Link's end of year Game of the Year videos, counting down our top 5 favourite games of the year. I'm Jacob from Games Link, and before we get into my top 5 actually, I had a difficult time making this list because there are actually 6 games that I really wanted to have on this, but rules are rules, and so I had to cut one. That one being Contradiction, which was this weird little murder mystery game thing that came totally out of left field for me. It's a colourful game set in a little English village full of little colourful characters like Detective Inspector Jenks and the Rands and so on and so forth, and you're drawn deeper and deeper into this mystery, and it's just so enjoyable because everyone overacts and it's crazy, but a lot of people could argue that it's not much of a game because there's not a whole lot of gameplay. It's mainly just pushing arrow buttons to walk around the place and talking to people. So it falls a bit short when it comes to gameplay, so it kind of lost out in the top 5. So honorable mention to Contradiction, I love you, but it's not gonna happen, sorry. Is a perfect example of a simple premise executed incredibly well. It's a game that should get boring after a week, as there's only really a couple of ways to play automotive soccer. But that being said, I'm still playing Rocket League whenever I can on Joel's PS4 because, simply put, car soccer is so much damn fun. A large part of this can be attributed to the mobility of your car, which allows for double jumps, flips, and speed boosts, which means the gameplay is always fast and frantic, with never a dull moment. It's the kind of gameplay that you can get the hang of in half an hour, but you'll never truly feel like you've mastered it, which in this case is a good thing. Slap on top of that a neon-filled futuristic aesthetic with a ton of customization items for your car to make it truly your own, and you've got a game that keeps me coming back over and over and over whenever I can. Batman's Arkham series has often been heralded as the series that comes closest to putting you in the shoes of a Caped Crusader, and I'm really inclined to agree with that. So when Arkham's final installment came out in June in the form of Arkham Knight, I was a bit dubious about how Rocksteady would end the saga. My concerns, however, were proved to be over nothing at all. It's the most comprehensive Bat experience there is out there, as the combat remains as responsive and satisfying as ever, with a kind of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of approach. Exploring and detective work have been tweaked and improved, with the largest change being the introduction of the Batmobile, which is a little overused in my opinion, but it's still a whole lot of fun to break Batman's rules and blow everyone to pieces with it. At its core, Arkham Knight succeeds in all facets, except the PC release, but we don't talk about that. The story is tied up nicely in a bombastic ending, there's villains galore giving the game a ton of character, and the gameplay is as great as it ever was, making it more than a worthy bookend to the Arkham series. Mortal Kombat is a franchise that's always been close to my heart since I was young, which has probably not really helped me psychologically, but let's not really worry about that right now. Mortal Kombat X was everything I wanted it to be and more, somehow upping the famous score factor higher than ever before. With fatalities and brutalities including, but not limited to, having your head filled with sand until your eyes pop out, having your ribcage ripped out and used as a telekinetic kite for your limp body, and having your jaw broken off with an embarrassing selfie taken of it to boot. But underneath all of the guts and bodily goop, a visceral and rewarding fighting system can be found, with a lot of variety separating it from its predecessor through the sheer number of new characters introduced into the game. A lot of the colour has been sapped out of the game in the transition from Mortal Kombat 9, which may sound bad, but it actually works in MKX's favour, as it takes away some of the series' cartooniness and trades it out for grittiness instead, while still leaving enough of it to keep everyone pleased no matter what they come to MK4. It's definitely the best fighter out this year, let alone on this console generation. secret here at GamesLink that I have an addiction. No, not Hearthstone packs, the other one. Disney Infinity figures. Being a bit of a Marvel and Star Wars nut, I'm the exact kind of man-child that you'd expect to buy all the figures, and I basically have. It wasn't until recently, though, that I actually really fell in love with Disney Infinity 3 as a game. I fell in love with it because it's one of the most enjoyable, low-maintenance, low-pressure games that I've played this year. It's a game that doesn't require too much brain power to play, most likely because it's made for kids. But with these past couple of months being the most stressful for me in my life in recent memory, that makes Disney Infinity 3 a godsend for me. It's suitably Star Wars with all sorts of characters, locations and songs crammed into it to give you that Star Wars fix. The bulk of the gameplay is combat based with a few fetch quests like missions thrown in, which is more than enough for the purpose that this game serves. You can dig deeper into the game if you want to. I mean, the lightsaber and force-based combat is fairly simplistic, but there's still enough there to build a bit of finesse with it if you put the time in, which actually makes you feel pretty badass when it ends up working out. Few games have given me that warm feeling inside like Disney Infinity has, and that's something that's hard to capture. Besides, you get to spend a load of money on a bunch of cool figures too, and honestly, I can't imagine personally wanting to do that. So, MOBAs are scary. One look at LoL or Dota is enough to drive a person like me away from the genre. But Heroes of the Storm piqued my interest when it was in closed beta due to the use of existing Blizzard characters I recognised from Hearthstone, and I'm still playing it excessively to this day. The main feather in the cap of Heroes of the Storm is that it's overall a more accessible MOBA than its genre brethren, primarily through how characters level up in each match. Instead of leveling individually, the whole team levels as one, so newbies aren't totally left in the dust when paired against more experienced opponents. It doesn't totally eliminate the toxicity that you'll find from some teammates in MOBAs, but it goes a long way in making things a lot more welcoming. On top of this is the objective-based gameplay, where each of the maps you play on have a different objective that greatly assists you in coming out victorious, from transforming a player into a destructive Dragon Knight to cursing your opponent's minions so they have no health and can't attack. These objectives actively encourage team play, something some people, including me, think there needs to be more of in MOBAs. Heroes also benefits from an already iconic cast of characters as well, which not only gives new players an immediate connection to some characters among the mass presented before them when starting out, but they can also have a bit of an idea of how the characters already might play, judging by how they were in their feature franchises. The game sees constant support with current release schedules seeing new heroes added every 3 weeks, so the future seems pretty bright for the game too. When it comes down to it, Heroes of the Storm has given me the best value out of any game this year for the hours I've played on it, the best value money-wise and enjoyment-wise. It's a game that I've loved this year, and it's one I can see myself playing for the rest of this year and the next year too. Heroes of the Storm ganked its way into my heart and has ultimately become my 2015 Game of the Year. I have no idea what I just said. Bye!